Hi everyone, I'm David Cook from Racing Prodigy. We've been asked why we created the Prodigy Racing League, which is the world's first e-to-real motorsports league. Someone told me that racing doesn't need another series, but we don't agree. It needs one more, and it needs it now. Racing needs a series that's open to everyone, regardless of one's bank account or connections. A series where driving skill is the only differentiator. So why is the world's first e-to-real motorsports league the solution to the access problem? Well, advancements in gaming and simulation software have helped prove that the skill sets from racing games translate to real race cars. Nissan demonstrated this several years ago. Mazda was next, when I proudly oversaw its shootout competitions in which sim racers competed against real-world racers for a professional contract. And when iRacing's Glenn McGee won one of the competitions, it reinforced that gaming can help solve the access challenges. Only about 1 million people race in real life, and there are more than 3 billion gamers. Some of the fans and some of the gamers who watch professional racing on screen must have more born with talent than those they're watching, but have never gotten the opportunity to race themselves. And we know that when sports, talent, and opportunity meet, this is how you discover prodigies. And this is why we partnered with several game publishers, with more on the way. And why companies are teaming up with us to provide opportunity to those deserving. Why thousands, and we anticipate millions, will enter our sim racing tournaments over time, and even more will watch our PRL, sim racing, and real-world racing competitions. Revolutionizing motorsports will require exceptional people and a courageous team. We've assembled a group with experience specifically for this e-to-real league. Our team has previously supported Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, the NFL, NBA, gaming, as well as e-to-real competitions. Our mission is to reinvent and open motorsports through gaming competitions, discover and develop talent, and provide sustainable, real-world racing careers for those who shine. It's past time that everyone has the opportunity to enjoy the thrill of racing. This is why we created the Prodigy Racing League.
The day has come to hand out the very first Prodigy Racing Pass. Thousands tried to make their way into the iRacing Time Attack qualifiers, and yesterday we whittled down the fastest 40 of them to the 20 that battle today here at Circuit Zolder. Welcome to the final round of round 1 of Prodigy Racing League action. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted to have your company here on RaceSpot TV, the iRacing esports network, and most importantly, on the Racing Prodigy Twitch channel. Make sure you join us over there, where giveaways are going to be happening here today. Ewan Hillary joins me. He was there yesterday through all of the semi-final action. Ewan, you and I were catching up just a few moments ago and talking through what was a relentless day of battling yesterday in 2 semi-final races.
Yeah, it was absolutely relentless, and it said a lot about what we're going to see today as well. 1 and 2 in those particular races weren't really fighting one another because they didn't have to. However, they were very, very close at the end of the race. It's going to be very difficult to get away. These cars are so good at being wheel to wheel, like we saw so much in the 2 previous races yesterday, and now with another 25 minutes ahead of them, we're looking forward to seeing who's going to get that first Prodigy pass.
And if you're wondering what this is all about, you're just joining us for the very first time. It's about blurring the lines between virtual and reality, giving sim racers the chance to step out there into a real car and with one of 15 Prodigy passes earn their shot at racing in the Prodigy Racing League. Let's talk to you a little bit more about the event format and how this has all worked. Like I mentioned, iRacing Time Attack qualifiers set the stage with the fastest 40 made our way into the semi-finals. The top 10 from each of those races progressing through to here, where they will re-qualify and set the grid for the 25-minute race that will hand out the very first Prodigy pass to the winner. That's not just all that's on the line, though, with all of our fantastic partners, the likes of Aztec SimSport and then SimLab and Grid Engineering, providing plenty of hardware, Ewan, for those that don't get to go out there into the real world and compete, but might still be able to later on this year win a Prodigy pass with some better hardware.
Yeah, so even in the unlikely event that a leader gets away, there will still very much be a fight for those 2 places, because you're right, there is hardware up for grabs for second and third as well, which will keep things interesting. But I can't see anybody settling for that if everything's all together at some point through this race. Everybody's going to be going for that Prodigy Pass. That's why they're all here after all.
Absolutely. The chance to head out over to Atlanta and get behind the wheel of a real car and compete and showcase their ability. Of course, some of these drivers bring backgrounds from real world racing, yes, but so many of them start with just sim experience. And we've seen with the likes of Glenn McGee and so many others, Lauren Heinrich and Ian Chen-Guven more recently spearheading this virtual to reality charge, Moritz Lohner as well, just how close those lines can be. Before we head out onto track for qualifying, let's thank those that have made all of this possible, providing the great hardware that's on the line for our drivers out there. Starting with Aztec SimSport, providing the Invicta Quick Release adapter kit. It maximizes the wheel options available with all Aztec SimSport wheelbases. You can mount it to either the 27 nanometer Invicta, 18 Newton meter Forte, or 12 Newton meter La Prisma direct drive wheelbases, allowing you easy wheel connections, whether you want your 70 millimeter, 50 millimeter wheel patterns, bringing those real world wheels into the sim as well. Also features integrated power and data for hands-free connectivity between effectively your wheel and the wheelbase. Also providing some great support for the Prodigy Racing League are the team at SimLab and Grid. You can order their exceptional products for sim racers seeking the utmost quality. SimLab's P1X sim racing cockpit has become the gold standard in the industry, while Grid by SimLab has a premium lineup of official Porsche licensed products available. You can order the Porsche 911 RSR sim racing steering wheel or the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup dashboard display unit for your sim rig. Thanks to them for providing some great support of this first round of racing action. Like we said, qualifying underway, and while yesterday we maybe didn't see so much fighting at the front, with everyone just being very fixed on trying to make sure they are in the top 10, being able to fight here in the finals for the Prodigy Pass, I think today it's going to be a little bit more feisty. Qualifying is relatively important, and Garrett Lowe's trying to maximize the curbs over the chicane.
Yeah, qualifying is very, very important, in fact, over the course of this. I know, once again, yesterday it's hard to know where to draw the line in terms of what we're expecting to take from that, because people weren't racing for the overall win in those races. But it is worth noting that semi-final 1 winner Gustavo Ariel won that from the pole, and Damon Woods won the second semi-final by starting on the front row alongside Garrett Lowe, who took pole position in that second semi-final. So it is important, and we've got all of the top drivers together this time. It did feel like they were kind of split in half yesterday. They're all together here, and just look at the talent at the top of the times at the moment. It's going to be very close throughout.
First in practice, by the way, was Damon Woods, the young Australian, so keep him in mind. But Garrett Lowe heads to the line, a multi-year competitor in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, really straight lining to just minimize the distance to the line. Will get him, 400ths of a second compared to his best attempt, and well, it's not going to see him improve in position. Still third for the time being, should reset to pit lane, and we'll see where the rest of the times stack on from here. You said that drivers starting from the front came out on top, but I think they were very much aided by the fact, that everyone behind them knew that just staying in the top 10 was all that they really needed to do. Because of the fact that we haven't had to see so many of them race, I wonder if those that had to battle into the top 10 maybe have a better understanding for what they need going into today's final.
Yeah, and I did wonder this yesterday as well, whether people who have had that practice at racing will take anything from that, because it is going to be about that, about the racing with one another that will be important here. A bit of a story here, by the way, that just want to jump to, with Rowan Gill, who's just taking his headset off there for some reason. His qualifying is complete, but he was actually promoted into the top 10 in his semi-final because of a 5-second penalty to Cody Deef, who, as we left you last night, was inside the top 10 and going to the final, but a 5-second post-race penalty for his incident, his part to play in Victor Miranda's trip into the wall on the exit of turn 8 and 9 has seen him into the final. A little stroke of luck for him there.
Let's ride around with Gustavo Ariel for a lap here at Zolder and just take it in. You can see maximizing the track on the entry into turn number 2, trying to clip a little bit of that inside as Vlad Kimichev with a 1:44.067 has laid down the benchmark. This is maybe one of the more important corners, because you're just trying to carry as much speed as you can, and ride as close to the gravel as you can without kicking it up, heading into that chicane.
Yeah, that's the important part there, because off-tracks will be important. We saw 4 people disqualified in semi-final 1 specifically, and another one in semi-final 2. So that's going to be something to avoid. Jump over those curves. That's going to be a talking point in the race as well when people start to battle through the Klein chicane. It nearly unstuck quite a few drivers in semi-final 1, and indeed it did spell the end of Jamie Christensen's trip through towards the Prodigy Pass, unfortunately, this weekend. Through turn 7, all of this chicane section is called turn 7 for whatever reason. It's a very technical part for Gustavo Ariel, who will be flat out through that last right-handed part, and now down towards turn 8, the big braking zone that's a bit of a chance for overtaking in the race.
Yeah, and this is where as well, if you are too wide through here, it compromises you into the final corner, and so sometimes setting that hairpin up can be wiser than trying to go too wide and losing more time in and of itself. Gustavo Ariel, someone that this year has really broken out, winning in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. Represents Tony Kanaan on occasion as well. Where is he going to stack himself in that number 14? Does carry some real-world experience, but you can already see has come over to the right. Slightly further distance is going to improve, but not to pole position. The margin between the top 2 so close. In fact, that lap didn't count there for Gustavo Ariel, just pushing the limits of the track too far.
Well, you say that. I think he might have run out of laps now. I think he's just going around, just because at the moment. I'm not entirely sure whether that was an off-track, as you say, or whether he's actually run out of laps, because you do get a limit on 2 laps. Despite the fact there's 8 minutes, you can't do all the flying laps that you want here in this session. Ross Banfield, we presume, is going to have another lap here. At the very least, he's practicing right now with the VR headset. Does look weird from this angle, doesn't it? Because it looks like he's staring into absolutely nothing and just turning that steering wheel, but he'll go over the line in 10th place.
There's only one driver who's actually out there on a timed attempt, I believe. It's Patrick Hingston in the number 11 machine, so it means Rowan Gill is going to start at the very back of the field with no time on the board. There is Hingston coming through turn 4. He's not going to get time to finish this lap, so he's going to start back in 19th spot, I would assume.
Yeah, that's a colossal mistiming from him if he's done that. Don't know how he's even managed that, but there he is, working away over the chicane. Once again, it might be just a little bit of practice, because as I was talking to with Damon Woods after the race yesterday in the interview, I asked him, how much driving would the especially top-level professionals have done in this car prior to this series, and he said, well, not that much really. Certainly he hadn't, and maybe that can be taken as quite accurate for a lot of the top drivers. But either way, here's the starting grid for the final.
Yep, it's going to be the Urano driver, Vlad Kimichev, that will get us underway with a 1:44.067. Gustavo Ariel rolls alongside from Brazil, while the drivers from the United States make up row 2. Garrett Lowe, Nathan Del Carmen alongside one another. Damon Woods, fastest in practice, 5th in qualifying, as David Sobrero in 6th position for company. Dominic Hoffman joins his Urano teammate inside of the top 10, with Ewan Baker from New Zealand on his outside. Mateo Kuzner and then Ross Banfield, 9th and 10th positions, with Michael Day and then Cam Martineau, 11th and 12th. And just 3/10, by the way, so far through the field. A 3rd Urano driver, Sam Coit at 13th, as Rick Kuznetsov for company on the 7th row. Jeffrey Lund, Luciano Whitvet, and then Damien Hugenschmidt and William Augustine round out those front 9. Bookending the top 20 and, well, not setting times on the board, but rounding out the grid is going to be the Rowan Gill and then Patrick Hingston cars, and in that order as well. We get the look on board with all of them. Always interesting to see the different rigs on offer, the look of focus on the face, some in virtual reality, some with a lot more basic setups, Ewan, that would like some of the hardware from our friends at Asetek and SimLab and Grid.
Yeah, some with the LED lights as well, and some with daylight on the faces as well, as we have a look at Vlad Kimichev, who didn't have a good qualifying yesterday whatsoever, was down in 16th, more than half a second away from Garrett Lowe, who was pole in his semi-final, and he's rectified that very, very quickly, and he absolutely had to. You don't stand any chance from back in row 8, I wouldn't say, even for a driver like Kimichev. He did eventually get through, finished that race in 8th place, and was nervy for a little bit of time, but eventually made up the position. He's getting ready now, and he's got a golden opportunity here to finish first.
Just a reminder, if you are just joining us for the first time, missed the semi-finals yesterday, rolling start, fixed setup. All the drivers have the very same Toyota GR86 underneath them, and, well, have the same tire heating, I guess, to think about on this opening formation lap before we get ready for 25 minutes, Ewan. Didn't see much action at the front. We've reiterated that a couple of times, but now the stakes are different. The stakes have been raised, and everyone wants to guarantee one of those 15 Prodigy passes heading off in towards what's going to be an exciting run of qualifiers, because it's not just here, of course, on iRacing, but there's the PRL Street Kart tournament that has just gone live as well. There's plenty more opportunities for drivers to make their way over to Atlanta at the end of the year.
There certainly is, and that's very exciting to see. But you don't know when the next one's going to turn around, of course. Make sure you follow us on the Racing Prodigy socials, like Twitter and so on, so you can be notified of the next iRacing tournament in particular, because that is yet to be announced. But will be soon, so get yourself over there and having a look, because the next chance, it could be you.
Absolutely. Could be you, and wonder where we'll go next, indeed, as well. Going to be interesting to talk to the driver at the end, to see how this opportunity is a real step into the real world. The transition from esports racing into real world motorsports, always exciting. 25 minutes as well. Same race distance as we had yesterday, which I guess means there is some continuity there, but half of these drivers will be familiar with, drivers will be familiar with half the grid, won't be familiar with the other half. It's going to be interesting how aggressive they'll be in the early stages. Just trying to figure out who they can really battle with, and who's going to be their friend, and who they need to maybe be a little bit more careful of.
Yeah, some of these drivers are going to know each other very well, of course, from the top level of iRacing competition and so on, but some of them really won't know each other very well at all. And it's all a bit of a learning curve, really. We don't see this format very often in sim racing in terms of a semi-final, then a final. This, of course, is more like a standard race, to be honest, than what we saw yesterday, where top 10 went through and so on. That's the part that's not seen so often. But yeah, the GR86s aren't used that often by the pros either, so it's interesting to see how they've adapted to this going into the final 25-minute race of this weekend.
And so often we talk about how slower cars sometimes mean you see more of the racecraft. It's where you develop it coming up, of course, but the best drivers always know when to break it out. It's the opportunity to win the very first Prodigy Pass, the opportunity to make their way to Atlanta later this year and showcase their talents in the real world. Vlad Kibichev gets us racing at Circuit Zolder for the final of round one. Behind, they will streak down into the opening corner, almost 3 wide inside of the top 10, but single file for the top 2. Ariel manages to clear Garrett Lowe through the opening corner, but as they get onto the brakes in towards turn number 2, drivers funneling to that inside protecting track position, not wanting to be swarmed in the early stages.
I think more importantly, not wanting a gap to open as well, because if you battle side by side too much, you will let leaders get away, as we saw with 3 drivers in semi-final 1 and 4 in semi-final 2. At the moment, we've got a top 4 kind of getting away with side by side between Hoffman and Del Carmen there briefly, as Darren Sabrera looking to regain some of those places he lost off of the start. He's side by side into the chicane with everybody, it seems.
Who's going to be the most aggressive here? Not anyone inside of the top 10 thinking it's worth it, but did see some drama. I think Sam Koituk got mixed up in that one. Michael Day potentially as well. They dropped down the order to the very tail end on the field on the opening lap of the race.
Yeah, disaster for them. I said there was going to be action down there, even though you can't really overtake through the chicane. It's so hard to go side by side through there. But where else are you going to do it? What else are you going to do? How else are you going to get through on someone? And so, unfortunately, you do have to be aggressive there. It was Koituk and Day who got involved. Patrick Hingston hasn't been able to overtake both of them. In fact, they're all still in the long 20-car train, I suppose. But it's a bit of a disaster. They've got an awful lot of work to do in a really quite short race distance.
I was just about to bring it up. You think 25 minutes is a relatively long sprint race, but to work your way forward, it's not that many opportunities. Garrett Lowe half looking to get past Gustavo Ariel as Vlad Kibichev leads us to the end of lap number 1, an estimated 15 here. It's Circuit Zolder for the 25-minute timed race. Here's a look at what happened. You've got all sorts of squeezing going on there, and it's over the curb where 2 cars basically touching with one another end up straightening each other out, but with all their momentum being lost.
In my opinion there, as we go side by side for the lead very briefly, Gustavo Ariel is going to go down the inside at turn 2 on Vlad Kimichev, who will hold on to the lead in the blue and white car out front. But yeah, in my opinion, Koita just didn't give Michael Day the space there as they went through the second part of the chicane. There's a bit of give and take you have to do through there, and in my opinion, from that angle anyway, Koita didn't look like he'd done that, unfortunately, so that's dropped them both down the field.
Aggressive block by Vlad Kimichev. Gustavo Ariel not content to sit behind on the second lap of this race. He will have to concede. Garrett Lowe looks as calm as you'd like, but I guess that's what happens when you have so much experience at being at this level. And Garrett Lowe, someone that NASCAR, Super Speedways, Daytona, Talladega, is used to running, 3-4 wide in packs at times. This seems relatively easy compared to that.
Yeah, that seems to be one of the strengths really of NASCAR drivers in general and iRacing real life as well. The close quarters racing you have to do there really does stand you in good stead for this kind of racing, I think, because it's going to feel like a super speedway at times. The draft keeping everybody in check, and it means there's a lot of side-by-side racing. He's going to have to use some of that now, though, because Damon Woods has dived on the inside. There's a bit of contact between the two. They rubbed on the entry and the exit by the looks of it, and now Ariel is just letting them, or giving the slipstream to Woods to try and help, Lowe to try and get the place. There's contact, and Damon Woods goes into the gravel.
And able once again to get it gathered back up and maintain the momentum, but dropping outside of the top 10, and fastest in practice has a lot of work to do as he tries to minimize the damage in terms of positions lost, but ultimately damage done in terms of track position. He's another one, the likes of Sam Koita, that we'll now have to watch in terms of recovery drives, as we'll go 3 wide for a moment. More contact made, and I think Ross Banfield spun around.
And that's more contact with Woods, straight into Rick Kuznetsov as well for Ross Banfield, I'm afraid. All of those guys are going to have damage, and Damon Woods might be in a bit of trouble for that in towards turn 2. This is exactly, in some ways, what Gustavo Ariel was doing towards the final chicane, though. You saw him moving around, giving the slipstream to one or the other, depending on who he wanted to go through. He wanted that fight to happen, because look at what it's allowed. The front two are now with an advantage.
But they are not clear of the draft range just yet, and so even though they have some separation, surely if Dominic Hoffman does not want to battle too much with Garrett Lowe, they've got some separation behind as well. The 2-car train might become a 4-car train, and then slowly but surely, once again, it will get stifled up once again. Banfield just gets tagged from behind. Nothing he could realistically do there. And then poor Rick Kuznetsov, I mean, another innocent passenger. I see some comments in our chats about the aggressive driving compared to yesterday. But yesterday it was all just about making it to here. There was no prizes on the line yesterday. Today is the final chance in this first round.
So, yeah, some people making comment on that, seen that as well. And I mean, in my opinion, Damon Woods was definitely at fault for the part into turn 2. Didn't really see what happened between himself and Garrett Lowe into the final chicane there to really get an idea as to what was going on. But I think the only part that was really bad was the part in towards turn 2 there with Damon Woods. Don't think, I do think he'll land himself in a bit of trouble for that, actually, even though he's down in 11th now. Same place, Gustavo Ariel's going for the lead again. He did this a couple of laps ago, unsuccessfully. He's managed it now, though.
Caught Vlad Kimichev napping just a little bit there. But with the gap closing behind, it's really academic, and now it's Dominic Hoffman that will look to the inside of Garrett Lowe behind. In through turn 4, they will work side by side for 3rd position, and got to be careful not to now trip over each other through the chicane, because if they do so, it would be the front 2 that could break away here. Slow on the inside, Hoffman outside, but Lowe thinks better of it and tucks into line.
I don't know about thinks better of it, just knows what he has to do in this situation. He's got to slow down, though. Following so closely, he's got to slow down. A disaster for Garrett Lowe. He'll allow Hoffman through. Del Carmen Sobrero and Mateo Cuenza will go through as well. Garrett Lowe has had a disaster there, unfortunately. It's up on the curve at the Klein chicane. It's exactly what you have to avoid. Wasn't a huge factor yesterday, but when you're following a car so closely, it's hard to avoid.
And so now, only 7th, lost 3-4 positions as a result. Can he use the next 18 minutes to cycle his way on forward and make sure that he still has a chance to fight come the final laps of the race? I think the reality is we're plenty excited about potential moves at the front, but unless there is a breakaway, we're only going to get very excited about changes for the lead when we're into the final maybe 5-10 minutes of the race when we know that we're in those final stages and there's not much time to go after that.
I can't promise not to get excited before that, Arjuna. Sorry about that, but I think we are going to see... I think you're right, though. That's when we are going to see the drama really heightened, because Gustavo Aero didn't find it all that difficult to get through on Kimmich in the end. I know he had to have 2 goes at it, but in the end, Kimmich didn't put up too much resistance. Was interested to see that Kimmich wasn't trying to play on the battle behind a little bit and try and keep those two side by side for as long, or a bit longer, as Garrett Lowe was doing a little bit earlier on. But sorry, Ariel was doing earlier on with Garrett Lowe. But he's clearly in his own world at the moment, focusing on what he needs to do as we go towards the back of the train. This is really quite towards the back, actually. There's still 11 involved, with Damon Woods clinging on to the back at the moment.
Now, on board with Cam Martineau, who does have some iRacing experience, but most of his sim racing typically comes on other platforms and racing traditionally under the Samantha Tan Racing colors as well. Good to see him in the shirt, got some trophies over his shoulder as well. Someone that started sim racing back in 2018 or so. I think that's what my memory says from the last time I commentated on him in person at Indianapolis when he was competing in some in-person sim racing stuff. And I'd be interested to talk to him, and plenty of people bring real experience to this competition, but drivers that bring in-person sim racing experience, wonder what they think that will do to their chances, as Damon Woods trying to find his way forward, trying to get up into the top 10.
Yeah, not exactly sure what bearing that is going to have, but yeah, you're right. Martineau has got his fair share of experience by now. Still, I've got to get into my head that 2018 was in fact half a decade ago, and that means he's been racing for quite a long time, and competitively so as well, as you can see with the success over his left shoulder as well. But he's down towards the back of this train at the moment with 2 very good drivers behind him. Luciano Vitva is a real strong race room racer, if we can use that term, and Damon Woods, of course, we saw yesterday especially having won semi-final 2 with flying colours. Unfortunately, not painted himself in glory so far in this race, and he's given himself an awful lot of work to do with damage on his car as well.
Yeah, and the damage, I think, is what's really going to keep him out of getting to the front. But maybe the hardware is still on offer if he can get into a podium spot, fakes it back to the inside, but surely not going to carry the momentum through, and that's going to hurt him and not be able to set him up to try and get the pass in towards the chicane. Do remember that we will go on to other platforms later this year, as Damon Woods now under fire by Hugen Schmidt, who fires it up the inside and able to take 11th position away, but Woods with a slightly better run is on the outside, and this is what I was talking about the chicane. Sometimes you got to be careful not to try and set yourself up through that previous corner to then lose an opportunity, and eventually Woods concedes.
Yeah, he's going to have to. No idea where Damon Hugenschmidt came from there, but he's back into the draft now, and he's latched himself onto the back of the leaders as well. Sam Quetta also recovering from problems earlier on now, trying to get through on Damon Woods. 2 drivers you expect to see a lot higher up here, side by side in towards turn 8. That is not going to be a change for now, though, as Dominic Hoffman, by the way, has gotten into 2nd place. Vlad Kimmich had to give that place over at the very same corner of turn 8.
I wonder if that's Urano teammates working at the front. Hoffman and Kimmich still representing the same team, even if they're racing for each other in this competition, and maybe just recognizing that Dominic's got a little bit more speed. Both competed earlier today in the BMW M-Sim Cup, and so having to split their practice and focus between being here in the Toyota GR86 at Zolder and being over at Spa with the BMW M Hybrid in the case for both of those drivers. You did some driving at the BMW M Sim Cup, I heard, as well.
I was hoping you wouldn't bring it up because I was terrible, and thankfully not on the stream. But anyway, we'll move past that. Yeah, it was a good pass in the end, and he was flashing the lights was Dominic Hoffman. And I think you're right that while Vlad Kimmich wasn't an advocate for that pass, he certainly wasn't going to fight against it. So there was a bit of give and take there. And yeah, quite frankly, I forgot they were teammates these days. So yeah, maybe that will play into a role, because if in the end, if Ariel and Hoffman are side by side on the last lap, we know who Vlad Kimmichev's going to push to victory.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see Dominic Hoffman in this spot. Had a great chat with him on the VCO Esports podcast that I'd encourage you to go and check out, just so that you can learn a little bit more about him. Really articulate person as well when it comes to sim racing, and thinks about some things in a very unique way, but usually someone that we see in prototypes and, more downforce driven cars. He's competed in F1 esports as well, so he brings that sort of a background. Gustavo Ariel competed this year in the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. Surely this is more in his wheelhouse than it is for Dominic, who would want a little bit more downforce and maybe be a little bit more committed through some of the corners.
Yeah, seen Hoffman drive prototypes fairly often as well, to be fair. So, yeah, maybe you're right. It's more in Ariel's wheelhouse, and certainly was in the semi-final. He was on pole position and won his semi-final, of course. But this is what I was mentioning earlier on. It feels like we've got the best drivers really smashed together now, whereas they were kind of separated yesterday. Ariel didn't race Hoffman yesterday. He didn't race Kimichev either. He did race with Carmen, but to be honest, I don't think he's quite got the pace in fourth place at the moment to really challenge those front three. So it does feel like we've got a real meeting of greats here at the front as we just go over the half distance mark in this one. Still 8 laps including this one remaining in this one, you'd expect, and it feels like we've really got a race on here.
Got dark all of a sudden as well. Plenty of cloud cover lingering on the track. Take a look on board with Dominic Hoffman. You see some of the helmets from karting and some of the opportunities he got to test Formula open wheel machines as well over his shoulder. Another one just showing that sim racers are emotionless while they're driving, even if they are filled with plenty of emotion. Don't let the calm exterior fool you. Nathan Del Carmen, by the way, really impressive to see him up there. Only started sim racing through 2020, has recently picked up a Spec Miata to go racing by the end of the year if he can, but is an instructor at the Porsche Experience Center Los Angeles, and so carries maybe not real-world racing, but plenty of real-world experience into this, and give him a chance to head to the Atlanta Motorsports Park and showcase his ability. Maybe he could showcase his strength for sure. But I mean, ultimately, we can say that about any one of these now 19 still running names, because 750 drivers, Ewan, that's the number that made their way to the iRacing Time Attack qualifiers. We only took the 40 fastest of them to the semi-finals yesterday.
Yeah, very competitive first phase that's resulted in a very competitive bit of racing here now as well. And of course, the GR86 is free content on iRacing. It's not like they would have had to go out and buy an obscure car that they just wouldn't have had otherwise. Everyone has this car. Not everyone has Zolder, of course, but there's plenty of racing that goes on around here over the course of a year, and plenty of people will have had it anyway. So it's very good news in terms of the qualifying phase. Very accessible for everybody, and that's exactly what Racing Prodigy is about, isn't it? Just making the real world of motorsport as accessible as possible for everybody, and it's going to be the talent that rises to the top and speaks more than anything else, which is not always the case in motorsport, as we well know.
Yeah, so the plan is for 15 of those Prodigy passes to be handed out in this next part of 2023, and the goal to be as many as 35 moving forward. So that is really exciting. Really looking forward to what this means as sim racers embrace this a little bit more as well. Of course, sim racers always, I'm sure, think, oh, I'd be quick if I got the chance. So many have showcased that. Moritz Lohner, his very first time that he got into a real race car at the DTM Trophy was on the podium at Monza, and Lauren Heinrich has dipped back into sim racing to continue what was a stagnant and stagnating racing career. Now a Porsche Junior and Porsche Junior driver, very much making the most of his second chance. Worked with both BS Competition and Coanda SimSport on his sim racing days. Hoffman's right on the bumper though of Gustavo Ariel, and now with 10 minutes to go, we haven't seen much fighting for the lead so far, but I think we're about to.
I think we are. We've seen these three now put a bit of distance into those behind. You can see that there's been a bit of pace injected into this race because the field is strung out behind them just a little bit now. There's a few gaps starting to emerge, even in front of Luciano Wittbert, which really shows the pace that's being put down at the front of the field right now from Ariel. But Dominic Hoffman looks even stronger, arguably, in the second position right now. Not a car he'd be used to driving very much, and the sun even seems to be in his eyes at the moment. That must be really annoying. But anyway, it's not phasing him. He's right on the back of Ariel, almost pushing him around these corners, but now he's got to stop to figure out a way through here. There's less than 9 minutes remaining, with there's not that long in the race anymore, and I know he has his teammate behind, but there is a limited amount of laps and opportunities here for him.
You saw him ducking and bobbing his head, trying to get away from that sun poking in through the curtains as well. That must be so difficult to manage. He's still got 8 minutes with which to work. I guess the benefit is, yes, Kimichev is a teammate operating as for himself today, but you might not expect such an aggressive send from a teammate behind if you are Dominic Hoffman. Maybe you can have a little bit more comfort that you can focus on the battle up front, although while these two Urano drivers are having it relatively easy for the time being, poor Sam Koitit's in the heart of the action, where in the very edges of the top 10, they seem to be brawling now.
Del Carmen doesn't seem to have had the pace anyway to stay with these guys, and further behind it is absolutely on between all of them. This is what we saw yesterday on the fringes of the top 10. Limited spaces for the final, great racing just in the bottom half of the field, and just great entertainment. We haven't seen that at the front of the race even now, with about a quarter of the race distance remaining. We still haven't quite seen that from these guys, but I'm sure we're about to in the not too distant future. For now, it's about these guys a bit further down who are getting angry with each other and flashing the lights as Patrick Kingston is there.
Consistency, by the way, for Gustavo Ariel. The last 3 laps have all been within about 2 hundredths of a second, but now Hoffman to the inside, got very squirrely as he mounted the curb, had to check up his momentum. His teammate Kimichev will pop to the outside, might slip back into line now, but you can tell the intent from Hoffman is there, but the choice to go for it maybe a bit early has very much concertinaed the field back up.
Yeah, he's allowed the top 7 or so to get back involved, and Kimichev's going to be a bit nervous about Nathan Del Carmen here very soon. In towards the Klein chicane, bit wide on the way in from Hoffman. Everybody bouncing over the curbs in a really dramatic fashion, but they're all avoiding the slowdown, which will be so important. Del Carmen will be right behind Kimichev here, though. It's going to be really, really close between the top 7 or so. As you can see in the background, we've got Ewan Baker sort of clinging on at the back. He's not quite absolutely there at the moment, but anything can happen here in the last 6 minutes. Hoffman's got to start trying things soon.
I'll just say as well, while we've got the likes of Ariel, Hoffman and Kimichev, your established iRacing major team players, you've got these other drivers that are in the mix. Great to see that as well. Del Carmen, someone that brings that experience at the Porsche Experience Center Los Angeles. Matteo Kuzner is someone that we focused on a lot in the iRacing Nürburgring 24 Hours this past May, when he was running with the Wave Italy racing team in that Porsche 992 Cup class. Drivers just slowly showcasing what they're all about, and that's what this is meant to be. Don't forget to learn more about this series. Head to racingprodigy.com or Racing Prodigy on the social media channels to keep up to date with everything going on. Hoffman once again, though, closes at the line. It's less than 6 minutes to go. Should mean what? 4 laps to play. If I'm Hoffman, I know I don't want to necessarily go for the move into turn 2 again.
Maybe not, but maybe a different chance will arise into there. Maybe we'll get even closer, and the opportunity will present itself in a different way through there. So he can't write off that corner entirely, because it didn't work out last time. He got a nice run out of turn 4 this time, but Errol's kept the speed despite going a little bit wider there. And this straight is nowhere near long enough, and the braking zone nowhere near steep enough, nowhere near hard enough for you to have a go into here. It's going to be about the run through it, though. They're all on the curb. They're getting more and more aggressive with every time, and Hoffman might be close enough here.
I think he's close enough to think about it and close enough to make Ariel go defensive. Covers off the inside in through turn 7. Hoffman's just going to breathe off the throttle a little bit tentatively onto the brakes, but we're into those final 5 minutes where we said we'd start to get excited about swaps for the lead. Look at them stacked up behind. Not just 1, not just 2, not just 3 now deep. It goes all the way to 9th position. Ariel uber defensive, allows Hoffman the opportunity to get to the outside, but not the opportunity to switch it back into the final corner.
I think the word I'd use to describe, or the 2 words I'd use to describe Gustavo Ariel at the moment is overly nervous. He's defending a lot into turn 7 and then into turn 8. Again, I get what's on the line here, and I get that Dominic Hoffman's behind and you want to keep him there, but he doesn't need to defend quite as aggressively as he's doing so far. He's weaving around a lot. He's taking a lot of defensive lines, and all he's doing is compromising his own speed, allowing even more people to come into this fight. Maybe that's what he wants, so that Hoffman will come under pressure. But with Hoffman's teammate right there, Vlad Kimichev, I don't think that strategy is really going to give him anything, Ariel, other than a lot more pressure as he's getting right now.
I think maybe he's just thinking that I'm quick enough that he can't pass me if I go defensive, but that's risking quite a lot. I'm not sure I feel so comfortable doing that. Maybe the other thing that Gustavo Ariel is just thinking about, I'll remind you again, Hoffman, Kimichev teammates, What have they pre-planned? Have they talked about what they may do in situations like these? They will likely have been practicing together. They know what each other is capable of out on track. This is where we think the run's going to come, though, if there's going to be a pass. Hoffman a little bit squirrely, potentially, over the chicane, and Kimichev not going to go for it, I would expect, but coming now into those final 2 laps of the race.
Yeah, we're very close to the end now, and this is a worry for Hoffman because what we're seeing here is the fact that if you try a move at turn 2, then you can't for the rest of the lap. If you go for it on a previous lap, the next lap you're going to be a little bit further behind. That's kind of what we're seeing here, that you do have more limited opportunities than you even think because of the way these cars are sort of momentum based. You have to build it up a little bit. You have to try and work your way through in a more gradual kind of way, a more gradual kind of build up, and so you can't go for moves every single time as maybe you would be able to in a car that Hoffman is a little bit more used to, but with 2 laps to go he's going to have to be smart with his limited chances.
You can see the sun's at least not directly on his face anymore, so a bit of respite at least from that. But at the line we can confirm it will be 2 more laps to play. Since Gustavo Ariel has got into the lead, he is not looking like he is going to be passed, but Dominic Hoffman has looked the most hungry, the most aggressive, the most willing to make a send, and it's been turn 2 where it's come on a couple of occasions, but Ariel's wise to it. Once again forces Hoffman the long way around, still with a bit of overlap. They'll head off to turn 4.
He's still alongside, but it's a longer way around a flat-out corner, so he's not going to manage it there. All he has to do is stay alongside, compromise Ariel into this turn, and then get your own apex into there. In fact, both of them miss it, but Hoffman's got the better exit. Now they'll go side by side in towards turn 5. That chicane, he has to get alongside here to compromise Ariel again, and he will, to set this one up for the corner afterwards. They'll bounce over this curb. Ariel will have to stay within the track limits there, and he does. Hoffman's run was nowhere near good enough.
It was, I think, Ariel just also playing that perfectly. Hoffman a little bit too tentative. Behind, Kimichev had to watch for Del Carmen. They've been separated slightly from the top 2. Surely he'll check up once again as we get to the line to see the white flag. But look at the run that both Ariel and Hoffman have been able to get on this very lap. Not so worried now about Kimichev behind. Full focus in front.
That certainly is, and there's a lot of defending. There's Nathan Del Carmen, who's really having to hold back Davis Sobrero, Mateo Cuenza, and everybody behind. Cuenza, in fact, is alongside the 59 of Sobrero at the moment, so they're looking for top 5s and maybe positions if things go wrong ahead. Who knows what's going to happen between the front 2 and those behind, because there's 1 lap to go. A Prodigy pass on the line, and Gustavo Ariel is clinging onto it for dear life.
Who gets the first ticket to the Atlanta Motorsports Park? Gustavo Ariel has led for a number of laps, but it's now the final lap, the only one that truly matters. Dominic Hoffman into turn 1 with a half send, but Gustavo Ariel slams the door shut, and now it's into turn 2 where Dominic Hoffman cannot make the move. He will have to wait, potentially, till that turn 7.
To be honest, I think what he did last lap was his best chance in terms of making a way through. He compromised Ariel again and again and again, and eventually it didn't come to anything, but I think that was the right way to go about it. A half-hearted lunge at turn 1 certainly wasn't in my mind, and now he's only going to get the last sector of this race or so to go for it. I know he's got a good run into the final chicane. He does often make Ariel think about defending, but with the inside line into that penultimate corner, I can't see Ariel losing this at the moment. Hoffman's going to have to get a lot closer.
Cam Martineau got involved with the likes of Ewan Baker and Mateo Kuzner and has been escorted off the track, but it's all as the top 2 continue to have the focus on them. Maybe 1, maybe 2 passing opportunities left. The hairpin in the final corner, but Dominic Hoffman's pushing and pushing too much, off and into the grass, and now half a second behind Gustavo Ariel.
I don't think he's going to be anywhere near getting this, Dominic Hoffman. A hint of a shake of the head there as well from him. I think he knows as well. Gustavo Ariel has taken control of this race from early, and he's held on to it very well as well. 4 attempts into the final chicane. I'm not sure it's going to be enough for Hoffman. Ariel might well be in the first position.
It's all building for Gustavo Ariel. 2023, the year he broke into the World Championship, the year he won his very first World Championship race, and now Gustavo Ariel is going to the Atlanta Motorsports Park, the winner of the very first Prodigy Pass.
Fantastic drive from Gustavo Ariel. Look at the emotion for him as well. Really pleased. That celebration lasting at least 10 seconds after the line. And why not as well? Fantastic drive from him. got the front early on, got the lead early, and some would say, you know, you don't want to lead too early because you're susceptible to being overtaken, but Ariel wasn't. He defended very well, and he's got the first Prodigy pass.
That's why TXE Racing by TK took a shine to Gustavo Ariel. And in 2023, the passion has been what the fans have seen. Every time he wins, you can see what it means to him. Gustavo Ariel, take a bow. He'll be watching on to see who the other 14 recipients of the Prodigy Pass will be, who he'll be battling with later on this year. Boy, has this been an exciting weekend for everyone at the Prodigy Racing League. Gustavo Ariel walks away as the winner. Dominic Hoffman, Vlad Kimichev will grab the hardware from our friends at Aztec Sim Sports and SimLab by Grid, and we'll take a look at the race results. Of course, we'll see what Race Control potentially has to say about some of the other things, but I don't think we're necessarily too concerned about what happens up at the front. Gustavo Ariel in that 14. What a race we saw between him and Dominic Hoffman. We wondered if Ariel was being too defensive. Turns out he was playing it quite right. Dominic Hoffman will wonder if he didn't play it the way that he would have wanted. Vlad Kimichev third in front of Nathan Del Carmen, who will be delighted with that finish in front of David Sobrero. Garrett Lowe sixth, able to shuffle up a couple positions after a self-inflicted slowdown. He'll be wondering what if. And then Mateo Kuzner in seventh in front of Ewan Baker. And then the second gaggle of cars, Damon Woods was able to scramble up to the front of it after he slid back. Damon Hugenschmidt completes the top 10, while down in 11th, Luciano Whitfoot, Sam Coiter, Rowan Gill all complete that little battle pack that ran to the line. Michael Day just in front of Cam Martineau after being turfed off in the closing stages. William Augustine, Patrick Kingston, Rick Kuznetsov, Jeffrey Lund, and then Ross Banfield through the 20 that saw the green, only 19 seeing the checkered flag. We will immediately talk to a delighted Gustavo Ariel. Gustavo, we saw the emotion when you came across the line. Another victory. How are you feeling right now?
Well, first of all, I want to say a big thank you to my team, the Texaco Racing by Tony Canan. It's been very good to drive on this car. We have such good drivers driving on this car on the team, so we prepare a lot for this race, and I'm happy to win. Dominic, it's a really good kart driver, and we both racing on kart, and I know he's very good on racecraft because on kart you need to be very good. So yeah, I'm very happy to win the race, to win the prize, and yeah, it's been a fantastic year for me. 3 wins on my rookie year on the PASC, a lot of championships winning in Brazil. So yeah, very happy to do another another good step for my virtual and real world career. So yeah, I'm very happy with that, and I want to say a big thank you to my team again, Texaco Racing by Tony Canan, also Tony and Carlos, the team managers. So yeah, I want to say a big thank you to my spotter, Dudu Castro, the sponsorships, HB Logitech, Toyota Gazoo Racing Brazil, Simpad for the fantastic cockpit. So yeah, I'm very happy for that, and for sure, yeah, no words to say about the prize. It's unbelievable, and that's my ticket for the real life. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. No words to say. Thank you.
Yeah, what does that Prodigy Pass mean to you? What does this PRL virtual to reality experience kind of offer to you as someone who won a Brazilian karting championship in 2019? You've been sim racing for what, 19 years of your life as well. What does this mean for the next step of what we'll see from you?
Well, to be honest, before the pandemics, I was trying to do my real life career, and when pandemics come, I just try to focus my sim racing career on the iRacing, and I start to do like professional, and the things start to happen. So I'm very happy because I have a lot of good guys that I coach, starting with me like 3 years ago. A lot of people that I know in the sim racing. So yeah, I want to do a jump in real life. Of course, financially it's very, very expensive, but people like people like Racing Prodigy, it's giving the opportunity to this unknown talent. So that's very great, and I'm happy to win it. And Dominic, it's a very good driver. All of them here, it's very good driver. Vlad, I drive against him on the top championship. So yeah, I'm very happy to win. And yeah, I need some water now.
Well, we always get very excited seeing how excited you get when you win. Congratulations, Gustavo. And, well, we'll see you in Atlanta later this year. We'll see who joins you with the other 14 Prodigy passes. Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. Congrats on the broadcast, and see you soon.
We'll make our way to second and Dominic Hoffman. Dominic, you tried, and you tried. Once the sun came off your face, it did look a little bit easier, though.
Oh, could you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, well, it was a bit unfortunate timing with the sun. I haven't quite figured out yet how to get it closed off completely, but it was a good race. I honestly would have liked a bit more prep time with us having Sim Cup right beforehand, so I didn't quite know what the car was going to do in a really intense battle situation. But overall, I feel myself and Vlad have done what we could as a team as well, and of course happy to take home second and third in this race now, and congrats to Gustavo as well on a really good drive there.
Yeah, unfortunately you miss out on the pass itself. You'll still win some prizes courtesy of Aztec Simsport. And I guess the thing that I kind of wanted to ask is 3 of the Urano drivers able to make it to this race, Sam Koitert then in the mix as well. How does that help you moving forward into the future qualification rounds? How can you work as a team knowing that you're still fighting by yourself?
Oh, that's a discussion for later days, I guess. Well, of course, there's always certain advantages to having more cars that you have a sort of guarantee that they won't run into each other on purpose, or at least run into each other due to some hard battling or too hard a battle or anything. But yeah, I think today was a really good example that Vlad was up there in Q qualifying, just really nailed the lap, really good pull up from him. And then I was able to come through in the race. And when we met on track, it was quite, we knew beforehand what we were potentially able to do, but unfortunately it wasn't enough to get Gustavo at the end. So still, nevertheless, happy with the progress we made, considering the amount of time we had in the car as well. So yeah, really nice event there.
You can go off and grab a little bit of a break. It's been a busy day of racing for you. Just missing out on the victory, Dom, but you gave us a show. Congratulations, and looking forward to seeing you in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll head over to the final step of the podium. The second Urano driver we'll chat to, where Ewan O'Leary standing by with Vlad Kimichev.
Vlad,
hello,
welcome in.
everyone.
Congratulations on third place. Good to have you here. Just tell us a little bit about what that was like sitting in that position, because you've got your teammate in front, you've got him battling for the win overall. Was it a case of you didn't really want to get involved? You were worried about those behind? What were you thinking throughout that position you were in?
Yeah, I mean, the preparation wasn't super hard before the event. I was really happy to take the P1 after such a low preparation. I would say it was a bit unexpected. And after the start, Gustavo was really close to me, and the gap was around, I think, 1.5 seconds, maybe 1.3. I wasn't sure that I was quick enough to pull away with him. And when he showed his nose in turn 2, I decided to lift and to let him have a go, to follow him. Unfortunately, we didn't manage to pull away with Gustavo. And the group of drivers behind us managed to catch, and at that moment, I think around lap 7, I made a mistake, and Dom decided to make a move, because before the race we said that Dom was the quickest, so if there's any fight, we let him have a go, and it happened. I decided not to fight hard against my teammate, to let him have a go, and just to defend from the behind. It worked well in the end. Super happy to take the podium today.
Yeah, 2 of you on the podium as well. Just tell us a little bit as well about how this was different to yesterday, because your qualifying was noticeably better. It no doubt made your life a bit easier as well, I would imagine, even though the situation was obviously different. Did you approach qualifying any different today compared to yesterday, or what was the situation there?
I mean, before yesterday, I practiced like half an hour after the time trial. And when I got to the server, I saw that everyone is well prepared, I would say. And in quali, I made a mistake on lap 1 and took ink on lap 2, so started P16 yesterday. There was a good start, and thankfully I was P9 in the semi-final. So there was definitely a lack of preparation. And before today, I drove a bit more because it doesn't take too much time to get used to the car. I did it and was more confident. When I got to the practice server today, I saw that, okay, the pace is there at least. And in quali, I did everything the same with yesterday. There was just more practice. And yeah, just carried on the experience, I would say. I mean, yeah, nothing to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Vlad, congratulations on P3 here today, and thanks for chatting to us as well.
Thank you.
Always good to catch up with a few of the drivers, and as we get ready to wrap things up for this first round of the Prodigy Racing League, because I've just about figured out how to say that properly now without tripping over myself. Really cool. I loved the type of racing that we had. It was really a lot more physical further back. At the front, they all kind of knew the stakes and what was on the line. Dominic Hoffman tried and tried and tried, and now it's Gustavo Ariel that's going to be heading to the Atlanta Motorsports Park at the end of October for our very first Prodigy week, and it's going to be exciting to see who's going to join him. Don't forget that twitch.tv/Racing Prodigy is where you want to be. We'll be doing a giveaway of 100 iRacing credits in just a few moments' time as we wrap things up. But, Ewan, I'm looking forward now. We've already got another qualifying round available free to enter on the mobile game, but maybe we're looking forward to the next iRacing round and seeing who's going to join Gustavo Ariel. Can Dominic Hoffman maybe go one better?
Absolutely, there'll certainly be chances for him to do that. And what I really loved seeing today was the emotion at the end from Gustavo Ariel. It wasn't just another race win, which sometimes it feels like for these sim racing pros. They win so often, and because they're so good at iRacing, that they don't really show any emotion, even at some quite a high level. But there really was some great emotion today, because a great prize for Gustavo Ariel, fully deserving of that. And it just shows the idea behind Racing Prodigy and why this is so good, is because it gives guys who wouldn't otherwise have a chance to, get into a real life car. It allows them to do that, and as Ariel explained there, it's going to be great for him to head over to Atlanta Motorsports Park and do that. And yeah, very pleased for him. And it was a hard fought win as well. These cars produced fantastic racing, even at Zolder, which traditionally doesn't always do that. It was very, very exciting indeed. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
And we saw that the Carters kind of rose towards the top. Experience in real world kind of very much looking like it was of benefit. Again, just a reminder, twitch.tv/Racing Prodigy, where you want to watch all of this. We're doing a giveaway of 100 iRacing credits right now. And that will be something that we continue to do on our road up towards Prodigy Week. We'll be soon announcing the second tournament here on iRacing and your second opportunity to get a Prodigy pass. To make sure to connect with us on social media and go to the website to get the first word on when the time attacks will open and when we will do the semi-final and final round. Just again, a reminder, the PRL iWest mobile tournament is now open with the Street Kart Racing game. Head to racingprodigy.com to learn more and to register. On behalf, though, of our entire team here at RaceBot TV behind the scenes, and indeed for everyone at Racing Prodigy working to put this together, for the likes of Dane Baird, Juliana as well. The names all pop up. Juliana Cesar, Camilla Moraes, Dane Baird, Ewan O'Leary, Hugo Luis, and myself, Arjuna Kenkipati. Thank you so much for joining us for the very first round of Prodigy Racing League action. We'll see you next time, but it's Gustavo Ariel with tickets to the Atlanta Motorsports Park that's smiling the most out of Circuit Zolder.